Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Before I go too far, hit that subscribe button below, like the video, share it out on social media, and watch it all the way through. Why? Because I asked nicely, please. Today we are starting, hopefully, the wrap-up of our X5 project. And last time I left off, we're going to be painting our front fender and bumper. We did that, only to find out the color was not right. Went to go ahead and made it up to the car, and it had far more of a blue tint to it than this metallic gray that it should have. So I don't know if something was set up wrong in the mixing or what the deal was, but it was not the right color, so I had to sand that all back off, the clear and the paint, reseal it, and I went back and actually pulled the factory paint code for the car and the A90, and that is a pretty spot-on match. What we've got here, I've gone through already and started to do just a little bit of light cut and buff. I really didn't need a whole lot. There's just a minimal amount of orange peel on here. And when I looked at the car, overall, it's pretty much the same as what's on the car. So I don't have a whole lot of work I'm going to be doing with all my good polishes and waxes, and I got stuff set up over there. But you can see it looks dusty, but overall, it's pretty good. You know, I just sprayed this yesterday clear, and it's been sitting here, so you can see how dusty things get here out in the country. It is nice. Weather is finally turning. Garage doors are open. We're going to get down to the shop here. But for now, we got to get this finished up. We've got to get this buffed up quick, and then start taking everything off this old bumper, and that's where we're going to come back. Why? Because nobody wants to see me sit with a buffer for the next couple of hours and get these couple of panels cleaned up. Only thing that did kind of annoy me, got a few little spots from when I buffed that I kind of stuck on here, so I got to figure out why that is. The clear is cured, but I don't know why. I got a little cast off from the buffer stuck to it, so I got to get that off. We've got our couple of things here, a couple of different size DAs, McGuire's. I got 105, 100, the swirl remover, my ammo skin. When it's all done, I'm going to hit it with the reflex. Ceramic coat. We've got our kind of wheel arch molding here. That looks good. These were on the old bumper, but I resprayed them just because, make sure everything was as close of a match as possible. And you can see, I mean, that's a pretty good finish. You can darn near see yourself in there. So, and of course, there's dust from just sitting out here for just a few minutes now. Anyways, we're going to go ahead, get these things finished, cut and buffed, and we're going to reassemble. Hopefully then I can bring the X5 up here and start putting things back together on the front end. There is still this lower chin valance that sits down along here is broken right about here, so I'm going to have to fiberglass that back in. I'm not sure if I'll do that yet on camera. I've got to take a look and see what the damage is, because it's actually two parts. There's kind of a lower cover and then the chin trim in addition, so I've got to really look at that a little bit more. I don't think I have to replace it. I don't want to replace it. I've got the other parts for it right here. You can see here's kind of the lower piece here, and then here's the main front piece of that nose trim or chin trim, whatever you want to call it. But we're just going to go ahead and get to it, and yeah, we'll see you in the snap of a finger. All right, we've got our front fender kind of buffed and cut for right now. There's still a little bit of orange peel on there that I don't know that I like. But I can't really lay into it a whole lot with my sanding. I did a little bit of 2,000, 3,000 grit wet sanding, then hit it with the McGuire's 105, 100, 9, and then the ammo skin. But, you know, from right here you can see it looks really good. And some of the little accessories like the windshield or the wiper covers, sprayer covers for the headlights, those look almost a mirror finish, but it's just sitting on the panel stand here. I just don't have enough good leverage or way to hold this thing where I can actually get some leverage on it and do anything other than just set the buffer on here and let it wander around. Granted, you shouldn't put a lot of pressure on it, but there's a few spots where I know I can improve a little bit. So what I'm going to do is get it on the car, to see how it compares to the factory finish. I know, like the red one here, there is orange peel on this and the fenders from the factory, so you know, you're always going to have a little imperfections. So I just want to see how this matches up to what's on the car now, so I don't go overboard and spend a lot of hours making it perfect when the rest of the car isn't. Because after all, we're looking at a 7-year-old car with some life experience on it, and I'll probably end up going over it again with at least buff it for sure with the ammo products. The whole car needs to get done, so that time I'll kind of evaluate what I want to do with that. But for the reassembly, it's pretty simple. There's 4 pieces that go back on the fender here, and we've got one of them. It's a little piece of trim, goes up front. We have the little foam pad that goes behind on the back end of it against where the door is. Then we have the little brake vent duct. So let's go ahead and just get these put in real quick. All right, like I said, super easy. One piece goes right up here. We can adjust it as needed when we get it actually on the car, but it should have pretty much one place it goes. That just presses on there. And away you go. Other piece here is the brake duct. This also should pretty much go in one way. Have a little pin down here, a pin here for these holes. It tucks into. And then these guys here, which I probably should have tucked in first. Yep. You know, this panel is so slippery, it's falling off my table. All right, we'll slide these in here. We've got tabs and little slots. There we go, easy as that. We'll go set it back in there. And it's just that easy. I've got our brake duct in here. And when we put in our inner fender liner, that will also connect up to these 3 little 8mm bolts as well. One more somewhere in a box of parts. And the last here is this little piece of foam. That just tucks up right in here somewhere. You can see a couple little notches where it goes. Match it up. Set it in. I think, there we go. Keep sliding off my table. Just that simple. There is one more piece right here. This big hole, there's a big plastic screw that goes in there. Kind of tie it into the front corner mount where the hood mount is and headlight bolts. But that is down on the old panel somewhere in the shop, so we will grab that when we actually fit this back on the car. Now, I'm going to put this away so I stop dropping it, and we'll go grab the front bumper and get that moved over. Alrighty, here is the inside of our old bumper, and there's a few parts we need to take off of it. This duct, this trim backer, I do see this is damaged a bit. I did not see that originally, so I'm going to see if I can plastic weld that up quick. I don't feel like spending money for that. It's just trim. This piece comes off here. This whole bottom, like I said, chin skirt comes off. Got the broken part over here. I need to take out the fog light assembly and the windshield washer mount for the passenger side. So this has to come off. Looks like it's kind of plasticky glued on here, so getting that out will be kind of a challenge. But the fog light over here, this little grill here, of course, both of the windshield washer parts come out. It's windy and blowing everything around here. There is a reflector that needs to come out on the driver's side, and a little hose here for the wipers, for the headlight washers. And then we have our kidney grills up front, which look like they are two-piece. I don't know that, no, we may not have to take off this inner part. That may be there. So I will look, but the grills, this black insert comes off, and the chrome piece on the underside, or the front side, comes off. So we've got lots of these little plastic things, tabs that have to get bent back so that these other parts can come off without getting damaged. And we're just gonna start working through it. I wanna get the fog lights off of here first because there is some heft to them, and I wanna make sure we take them off to prevent any other damage, as well as the windshield or the headlight washer pumps. So we'll get any of the actual functioning moving parts off of here first, and then come back for all the plastic trims. Alrighty, for time's sake, we're going to go ahead and take this one out here on the passenger side, both the fog light and the headlight washer module. These are T20 Torx, and these are just some plastic clips that come off. We'll go ahead and put them on the new bumper, and just keep moving along because we don't need to see everything twice. And since this is probably going to be a pretty lengthy video, I'm going to try and consolidate it as much as possible, not repeat stuff, because we also still have to do the assembly onto the vehicle, all the electrical connections, all the 35, 40 different bolts that go on here, between here and the fender, getting the panels lined up, the gaps, and then of course we still have to address the hood. That is not fixed, and that's going to take some work. But I can't do a lot on that until the panels are back on the car and figuring out the gaps for the hood, because while it's still in the pretty good shape, I know it needs to be bent up a little bit in the front, and I think there's a little bit of a bow to it about a foot back from the corner. So I need to get the fender on at least to make sure I can get that lined up and level. So yeah, there we go. That's where we're at. So like I said, this is just a pair of T20s. My extension has escaped me once again. Then this should come up and slide out just like that. Have our LED light assembly, so we'll go ahead in 1 second and get that over on the new bumper. We also need to bring these clips with us. And since my toolbox is way far away, 5 feet that way, I'm just going to pop these off with my Leatherman, or Gerber, whatever you want to call it, multi-tool. And bring these with us. Now for our headlight washer, let's see, there's a plastic clip here and on the other side that need to be pulled back to allow it to slide out the front. So if I pull this back, you can see you gotta poke forward a little bit. And then on the other side, it just drops right out the front. And there we go. Easy as that. Make sure when you put it back in, it goes back in the right direction so you're not squirting your bug juice down. It even says right side and left side, so we're good to go there. Let's go put these on the new bumper. Not a whole lot to put this one back on, just slide her back up from the bottom. And actually, before I do that, I'm gonna I'll do it afterwards. I've got my caps that go over this too, but I'll put those on once we've got it back in place. There we go. Clipped in both sides. Our fog light. Well, it does have adjustments on here. I don't know that we need to make any since we're basically just transferring it from one bumper to the other. These do not self-level. I guess first world problems. Don't forget to sneak these little guys back in here. Now I consider myself super lucky to have found this bumper for 150 bucks. So definitely shout out to the parts place I found this from. Get my T20s back in here. Just that easy. Now on the driver's side, the downside is that I have to get this trim piece off. Show you. This assembly here I have to take off. It is kind of stamp welded, like pin welded, plastic welded, whatever, down here. So that's I'm gonna have to scrape off. And then these I believe were kind of smushed over. You can see a better example down here. Looks like they were pressed through and then heated and pushed over. So I'll have to get those off. That's gonna be my only challenge over here. But again, otherwise the fog light's gonna be simple to transfer. And then we can start working on this guy. I'm gonna get him off. He should be pretty simple here. Just got these little plastic clips. And you get enough of them loose, the whole assembly should just start coming out. Just like that. Now if you were watching the Fiesta project, these were much harder. Of course, I'm sure I've just jinxed myself. Yep, I jinxed myself. So, anyways, these clips just come off. You may need to use a screwdriver or something like that to pry these little clips back so you can get in there and probably not be holding the camera with one hand at the same time. So, I'm gonna work on getting these out the rest of the way. Then we can move it over to the new bumper. Alrighty, I got this brake duct off. Basically just a couple of clips here like you'd expect. There was one of those obnoxious plastic rivets I drilled out, and that separates it from the fender and this lower chin skirt deal, whatever you want to call it. I have this reflector to take out. It's simply held in with 3M double-sided automotive tape. That's going to be easy. Chin skirt, a couple of clips here. That comes out. These look like they're undamaged on the passenger side, so that's going to be important. Hopefully the actual broken piece here is also undamaged. This piece comes out, more plastic clippies. Let's see what we can do here. See, again, it's just more of these plastic clips that come out. That's impossible to do with only one hand. But I got this trim backer out. You can see I've got just a little bit of the JB plastic weld stuff sitting here. I mixed way too much because it went all over my paper, so that's unfortunate. But I am glued up with a couple spots where it was broken. Gerber is here holding it in place, and that's going to dry up, and I can tack or pop that back in place where it goes. I do have the new one that goes over here and the plastic or the chrome trim, so let's see if we can shove that in. A whole pile of new parts here, actually. Oh, we have our new reflector, and I might put him in while everything else is out. Yeah, it's already got the adhesive on it. And let's see, let's move us around a little bit. Alrighty, you can see this is just going to tuck right up in here. We've got space to do it since we have, like I said, all of our brake duct stuff is off. So I'm just going to go for it and stick it on. Putting on the driver's side one again will be a little sketchier because we'll have to make our own trim tape to go in there. Basically tuck him in. He fits in, look at that, just like that. Now we'll hope the adhesive holds. I did clean this whole thing up a little bit ago. Not in the last 5 minutes, but 3M adhesive tape pretty much sticks to anything. So there we go, we've got a reflector in. Here we have one of our new parts. guy tucks in from the back here. Chrome strip trim goes in under here, but this just pretty much pushes right on and in place. The lighting is going to be pretty poor, but really, what I was saying, you've got these slots and these tabs that everything pretty much fits back into. You can just kind of start in one place and work your way around, and it'll snap in place. Let me do that. You probably won't be able to see a whole lot because of the lighting. And honestly, I'd much rather have the doors open and fresh air than be cooped up in a closed garage. You're in. Oh, that's better. You're in. You're in. You're in. And we have just one more tab here. That one's in this tab here. It'll go. There we go. Now we're in there. I just really don't care to have you fall off to the floor, once again. But we have that piece on, and looking from the underside, now we have this hole, and behind it, rather in front of it, we have this nice, shiny chrome piece. Oh, I thought my other one was broken, but I guess it's not, so that's good news. I thought these were brakes from the accident, but it looks like they're just possibly manufacturer points. So they should fit up in here pretty easily. Tucked right in here. Oops, try it again. It should fit up in here pretty easily, and then we're good to go. So let's see if we can do it without tipping everything over. A couple of tabs here, a tab here. Yep, I'm gonna have to wait till I can flip this thing over. That's just gonna be a challenge. So, I got a bunch of parts. Yeah, I'm gonna work on getting off this last piece of plastic trim here. Then I can put that on the new bumper. I can start running things like my wire for the hose for the washer pump. Probably wander down to the shop and grab the wiring harness off the car for things like the camera, the distance sensors, fog lights, and all that stuff, and then start snaking that back in here because we've got all these nice spots in here already made to tuck the wires, so they're all routed very nicely, and we don't have to worry about trying to zip tie them or anything else like that. So, place for everything and everything in its place. Alrighty, so if we're getting this mount out for the headlight washer, hey, I said it right for once. I'm going to take my Dremel and knock these little plastic knockdowns off, and then this is just going to be a pretty light kind of pinned, heat welded to the bumper. So that means I can just clean that off, slap a bunch more JB Weld around here, and press it back onto the new bumper over these things. Hopefully they're still there, at least one of them, and fold over if needed, and be good to go. So that's going to be a pretty simple fix. I'm not going to bring you along for the Dremel because the headphone users will definitely appreciate me not doing that. Otherwise, there's still a couple of good parts on this bumper. This piece here, I don't know, is it something that we can pull off and salvage and list on eBay or whatever? Little trim piece here for the camera. The rest of the bumper pretty much shot. This piece is Still intact, but a few little tears in it, so maybe somebody would be interested in it. You know, trying to put the whole thing on sale for $100, for example, $50 even, gets really prohibitive when you get to shipping. So if I can just take off the couple of pieces that are still good, heck, maybe somebody needs this thing, $25, there you go. Make a little bit of money back off of what's left on here. So, yep, we'll get this trim piece off, get our wiring harness, and keep moving on. Alrighty, we've got that lower chin valance, taken off the old bumper, kind of touched up the front here with some paint. That's all in one piece, so that's bonus. Here's our driver's side trim thing. It should be dry by now. That lower chin valance, I went ahead and glued the sensor, the park distance sensor, onto it. I had taken it off just to get everything put back together wiring wise, so that is reconnected. The other one is down here, still in the piece, ready to go. Went ahead and touched up this valance piece here, so that should be dry, ready to go back in. We have we brought our wiring up out of the car, so we've got our front camera. We have this other piece here glued in for the headlight cleaner, so I'm going to go ahead and slip that in there. We've got, like I said, that reflector got put in. I've got to take it out for the driver's side yet. We got our new brake duct in, and there's a little more that goes in here yet, so I have to wait till I put everything in here finally, and of course put those plastic rivets in, but we are getting close. You can see even today with our wonderful weather how dusty it's been here just in a couple of hours. So things do get dirty out here pretty quickly. Other thing we've got is the front half of our wheel arch inner fender deal, and that's ready to go on. So we are pretty much down to removing that kidney grill, there it is, from the old bumper, and that can pretty much get chucked in a corner. I do want to find, there's another piece of trim I seem to have lost. Oh, it's outside. This piece here is drawing. Sorry, this piece here I had taken outside, I think. Nope. I had a piece of trim and now I've managed to misplace it. Well, that's silly of me. This piece here, I took out, I put somewhere, and now I've lost it. That'll teach me to go and have supper with the family. Yeah, I don't know where I put it. So I'm going to have to find that before I do a whole lot more. Maybe it blew away. I don't know. I hear thunder rumbling off to the west, so we are going to have another good old storm here tonight. But that's just Minnesota in the spring. So for now, I'm going to, no, that's for the Ford. I'm going to try and find my missing trim piece and put that in, and then just start working through the rest of the parts to put on. This is, yeah, seriously, I went inside for a half hour to have supper with the family, and I come out, and pieces are missing. I'm losing my mind. Well, I found it. The wind blew it about 30 feet across the driveway on the other side of the house. So, interesting how windy it has to be for a little piece of plastic like this to blow that far away. This piece fits right in here. And there's a couple little broken pieces, so I'm going to fit this back in place first before I glue these, because I'm sure if I try and glue it and then put it back in place, it'll crack on me. So let's go ahead and put that in right now. Let's see, we've got our wires to be aware of here, more parts over here. Tuck that in place. You can see that I was saying we've got all these nice little places for the wires to get tucked into, so. All right, make sure all of our wires are untucked. And we can start pushing this in place, and hopefully I don't knock you off. Now I've got a few coats of paint on here, so that's gonna, whoop, there you go, like I figured. You're gonna tip over. Whoop, again. There we go, see if that works. Ow, that was my finger. Really? Okay. All right. End game is all these little tabs get pushed into the holes and come through. But that's not going to work with me holding you on the bumper because you want to fall over. So I'm just going to get that done and we will come back. Alrighty, I got all these pieces tucked in here. Now I've just got our wiring to start running around. You can see these get run up right under here for the park distance sensors. And everything just kind of goes just like that. So we're going to get these things all tucked up in place and move on to, we're going to get that other headlight washer in place and get that plumbing run, and then work on the grills. Alrighty, so I've got the other reflector out of the driver's side. Just popped it out with a straight blade screwdriver carefully, and it came right out. I cleaned it up and put some new 3M automotive trim adhesive on it. So I'm just going to go ahead, peel the backing off, slide it up under here, and we'll be done. All right, we'll take a look at this front bumper. I did go ahead and snap these things into place. They really are dead simple to put in. There's a tab back here that slots inside the brake duct, two little tabs here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 ears that snap in right in here. Same thing over here on the driver's side. Sorry I did not show you these headlight washer tabs or covers to put in. They are, again, super easy to throw in. I think I've actually got them listed on my other BMW, the X3 rebuild series, if you want to look at that. Otherwise, the bumper itself, I don't think I'm going to cut it with anything. I'm just going to buff it because it looks really good from here. I don't see any real reason to start hitting it with the sandpaper, wet sanding it. I wouldn't do that till it's on the car anyways, just because it's so large and flimsy. It's just a challenge to try and do. Anyways, we have about 2 big things left to do. The first is this elephant in the room over here. I've got to fix that. We do have our little chin guard here, our trim. That is in one piece, good to go. But I need to get this piece put back on first. And in order to do that, I think what I'm going to do is fit the broken piece of plastic on and then take some fiberglass resin, maybe some glass fiber, and fill in on the back side to make sure we have a good grab back there. I don't think my JB weld in this big of a space is going to cut it, or even plastic welding, just because bigger space, I know it's going to get hit with a rock and go over a curb or something. And I want to make sure it's going to stay in place because this piece is about $250, currently unavailable. So you can see we got our little trim pieces back in here. This part was broken. It was always broken. The other pieces here, they hit it with the JB weld, and they're in there. Top piece here, same as well. There's one little spot right here that didn't stick, so I've got to go just quick touch him up. Otherwise, we've got our kidney grills. Now, there should be a couple tabs. Tab, 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 tab. And this whole assembly should come out. There's 2 pieces here, actually. There's this back blacker, and then there's the chrome piece underneath that you can see. And I would like to try and get these out as one assembly. I do believe that's possible, so we are just going to go ahead and see what we can do. Alrighty, so we've got a little screwdriver. We're going to start with that and see what we can do. So again, there's just these tabs. You should be able to push down and just start working your way around the bumper. There we go. That should come out. just like that. And there's one. Perfect shape. I'll probably clean these guys up real quick. Now we've got our grills. You know what, that's just dust, so I can clean that off when we're done because it's gonna get dusty again sitting in the garage because, well, we still have that recall for the EGR cooler. So I'm gonna clean up the outside of here just a little bit and we'll come right back. All right, so I did just a little bit of cleaning. I just cleaned around the edges here. I can certainly get in these veins once it's actually back in the vehicle. But once I set it back in the bumper, these top pieces, edges, and of course around the bottom is gonna be tough to get with the buffer. So took care of that right away, and to put them in, it's pretty much as easy as taking them out. We have the passenger side here. Nope, I don't. There we go, driver's side. Pretty much got enough room, pop it in. There we go. I'll turn it over and pop them in. The rest of the way, once we get it set. You can hear it all snap in, that's what we want to hear. But we're gonna tip it over. This thing got a lot heavier. Because I want to know that all these tabs are in. You're in, you're in. You're in. This one here is almost in. There you go. You're in, you can hear them snap. That's what you want to listen for. He's being a little bit of a stinker. Go ahead and check the other side. Snap, snap. He's already in. He's in, snap, snap. So they're all in on the driver's side. Passenger side had one that was being troublesome right over here. In, look at that. Let me flip this back over. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna do this. Yep, I'm gonna flip you back over for right now. This got heavy. Oof. Alrighty. Whew. Let me set you up here for right now. Oh, no, I'm not gonna do that. Oh, set you back down just like we had you. All right. Wow. This thing looks pretty good now. Like I said, I can go back through by hand and clean in between these veins. But like I said, down in here would have been tough to do. And in here with a buffer when it's right up in next to the bumper. So that is where we're going to leave this for right now. I need to come up with a thought on getting this supported and in. Probably flip the bumper over, set the other plastic piece on there, and go from there. But I know I'm going to use some sort of fiberglass resin on it, and I don't have any here, which means I've got to take a trip to the parts store. And for me right now, my clock says 8:30 on a Saturday night, which means no parts store for me. I'm going to clean up and catch a movie with the missus. And alrighty, well, next day for me, and I decided for this lower chin valance thing here, I'm going to take it back off the bumper. So that's what I did. And just got it set out here on a good old card table. And what I've done is I've kind of measured how high this piece sits off at this hole here. And I've measured that over here as well. And then what I've done is started to basically lightly tack it in place with just some plastic welding, you know, good old soldering tip. There's a little crack over here, so I did that all the way around here as well, and I strengthened that up. This little tab had broken off, so I ran down here with it as well. And that's going to hold everything in place just fine. But I've got this tacked in place, so I can move it around a little bit yet. But what that's going to allow me to do is take my good old Bondo here, just fiberglass resin and some cloth, and I'm going to scuff this whole area up here probably with some 40 grit, maybe put some hash marks in here with a utility knife or whatever, just to get something to bite on. And then I'm going to lay some fiberglass over here, this whole area, and flow in some of the resin, and that should harden up pretty darn good. When that's done, I'm going to flip it over, and just for a little bit of cosmetic sake, I'm going to take that flat tip on the soldering gun right here and just run it flat along the bottom here so you don't really see the crack. I did it over here. You can see, you can barely see, I mean, it's right here. It's visible if you look close, but remember, this is on the underside of the car. This is about, 5 inches off the ground. Unless you're looking underneath, you're never going to see that. But I'm kind of picky, so that's what we're going to do. Now again, replace this part. It's a couple $100. When I was sourcing parts when I first brought the car home, I think the cheapest one I found was $250, $260, but it was out of stock. So I didn't even have an option to buy one. And I figured I got lucky enough with the bumper. Wasn't going to go scavenging around eBay for one of these because I figured also it would be damaged like this one or worse, and I'd have to fix that one too. But the good news is, like I was saying earlier, is that this little chin valance that runs under here on the front side, he just attaches under here. That is all in good shape. So when everything is all said and done, you're really not going to see much of any damage to that piece, unless you're crawling around under it. So I'm going to go ahead, get my fiberglass stuff prepped here, get my area kind of cross-hatched off with the knife, get a good section of material it can bite to, and clean it up good. And then I'll come back and get ready to put some cloth in here and lay some resin in there. So I am quickly going to I'm going to V this out and run some JB Weld in here as well, just so I've got some additional contact point just beyond these tacks, because I know that's not going to hold it, but you throw in some JB Weld, that's going to help, and then you throw the glass over here. That should be a pretty good solution for something that's pretty much going to remain stationary unless, I smoke a deer, a curb, or something else, maybe a tree. I don't know. But for your average driving, this repair should be just fine, considering you've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bolts that just hold this thing on the bottom, and then you've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, you've got in the neighborhood of 15 or so clips that hold this thing in place, and then those bolts on the belly pan. So it's really not going anywhere unless you smack something pretty hard. So that's what I'm going to go with. So we'll go ahead and get this thing all prepped up and ready to go. Alrighty, well, we've got our area here pretty well prepped, ready to go. We've got this whole area scuffed up under here. You can see I cross-hatched it, hit it with some 40 grit. We've got our glass kind of down where we want it to be. We've got a hole cut here for our other chin trim. And I'm going to go ahead and mix up some of the good old Bondo here. So depending on your conditions, mix it up as the directions say, but I'm looking at about for every ounce of resin, 10 drops of the hardener. Wherever I just put that, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of this mixed up. I'm going to mix up maybe, I don't know, we'll see. a bunch. It's got about a 10-12 minute pot life on it, so all I've got to do is pour it over there and then hit it with this little acid brush here. You can get them, you use them for soldering, whatever, the flux paste. Get them at your home store for, you know, dirt cheap. So go ahead and mix up some resin. We'll flow it on there and get moving. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and mix up 4 ounces as a good starting point. I'll probably need more, but we'll see. All right, 4 ounces of goo. I need 40 drops of the resin once I poke a hole in the end of it. See if that works. All right. Cap these back up. Find a stir stick. All right. Go ahead, mix her on up. Now, since I'm a lefty, I'm going to put you over on the right side so you can see what I'm doing. And pretty much, I'm just going to pour it on. Get some of these little strings off of here. Pour it on and hit it with that brush. And you know, maybe I made too much, but hey, we'll see. I'd rather have more than enough and have to go mix more up. So pretty much all you want to do is keep pushing this goo down into the cloth, and you can see once the goo has penetrated the cloth, it changes colors. And that's what we're looking for. You can see here it's just sitting on top and not really doing anything for us. So that's why we go ahead and push it in. Alrighty, well, GoPros being GoPros, battery died. Yay. Something we should all learn by now, or GoPro should have fixed, right? Anyways, I've got everything flowed in here. We do have some extra goo, so I made, you know, 2.5 extra ounces that I needed. But that stuff is cheap, right? So a little bit ran through here. I've got to quick clean off. Since, you know, this is our good card table. Alrighty. Put this back here. All right, so before this sets up, I'm going to go ahead and just measure this distance again, make sure it's just my 1.25 inches. And it is. I'm not terribly worried because this whole thing is a little bit fluid anyways in terms of moving. I spilled again. So I'm not too worried if this is perfectly exact as the other side, because this whole thing is sort of a pliable plastic, so I'm not terribly concerned. We'll likely end up moving stuff a little bit anyways, just to get everything put back on the bumper assembly itself. But once we're there, we should be good. So I'm going to let this sit here and dry. And once that is done, we will come back and work on cleaning up the underside here real quick. And then once everything is dry, slap it back on the car, or slap it back on the bumper assembly. So we have, like I said, this area gets clipped back on here. We have these few little deals that, of course, I broke again trying to reassemble things. Actually, this one broke. This one was still fine. Everything else here that I repaired is, oops, I got to get that one actually because I broke that and have to fix that. So a little bit of JB Weld in the back of here is going to hold everything right where it needs to be held. Not concerned about that in the least. You can see we did get this headlight washer bracket put in yesterday with it's not going anywhere. JB weld up here on those little tabs, and then down here in the bottom, and then around the sides also glued, so it's not going anywhere. So we'll let it dry. We've got a few of these obnoxious plastic rivets that I've got to grab from the dealer that go in here. But that's final said and done at the very end, once everything is put back in. And after that's done, hopefully we'll be able to grab the car and get that front fender on, get the bumper assembly on, make sure all of our sensors and lights, fog lights, and camera work before I put it on the car for the final time. Because I really don't look forward to having to take it off again. They're no fun to take off. They're about as much fun to put back on. So we will hopefully only do it once. But we've got a little more work to do on the fender to get the rest of the old fender off from underneath the rocker panel. I've got to take that panel off to get at a couple of bolts. Yada, yada, yada. More fun. But hopefully fender goes on easily, bumper goes on easily, and that's going to leave us just with the hood to repair after all of this stuff. And that's going to be another challenge in itself. Maybe another video, maybe here, depending on how long this one runs. But for now, I'm going to run and let this whole thing dry. And then when we come back, we'll get her flipped over, cleaned up, and ready to go back on the car.
3 hours later.
Alrighty, we have returned. Everything should be dried and cured up here. It's had about 3 hours. And pick it up, and it's doing just what it should. So we're going to go bring it over to the bumper over there and get everything fit back up. Alrighty, you can see most of the space I'm working in here. Pretty much starting on one side. I'm just going to work my way across an edge here and then back across to the other side. We've got all these tabs and ears that go in. Pretty simple, just like before. Just want to be careful we're not breaking anything. Just take our time. Tuck him under here right now just so I've got some support. There we go. There we go. Now you can tell this bumper itself, since everything is on here now, there's a bunch of flex. And I've got about 3 inches at the end of the bumper here. So I'm just carefully pushing everything up where it needs to be. Eventually everything gets to the right spot. I'm going to be careful over here. Try and bend the bumper down versus this chin skirt. There we go. Everybody is where they need to be. Yep, there we go. All right. All right, now we can see we've got all of our little tabs and ears in here. All of these little parts are in. And now I can take that other trim piece and put it on the bottom here, that bottom kind of chin skirt. And I do have this area right here to clean up still, but you know what? That's covered by that trim, so I don't even have to worry about that. But what I do have to do is snap these two sensors back in place for the park distance, and they are pretty easy to pop in. Just push them right in. Let's see if I can show you over here on the driver's side. All right, as I said, pretty easy. They only go in one direction, and if you don't tip over, that should be pretty easy to show you. Push it in, it snaps, and there you go. So this brings us to our last piece here for the bumper, this little piece of nose trim, whatever you want to call it. Bumper is upside down right now, so I'm going to keep it that way, and really, it just snaps in here. Listen for the snap. And then when you put the bumper on, the screws here for the belly pan, both of these things line up, and there you go. It's that simple. There's a couple little tabs on the side here that also poke in. You can see may have to notch this piece of fiberglass resin out for him to fit in there. But this one should push up here as well. Pop and pop. So there we go. There is our bumper, I guess, transfer, conversion, whatever you want to call it, for the front bumper. Now, like I said, we've still got a lot to do. We've got to bring the vehicle up here itself and get that all situated, but hopefully that's going to be as easy, at least for the bumper, as setting it on and putting in the 15, 20 different bolts for the bumper itself, and then that wheel skirt or the wheel liner on the passenger side. So I'm going to leave this right here and come back and we can get the vehicle up here to the garage, because for me it is Sunday evening and tomorrow is the start of a new week. Alrighty, we're gonna wrap this one up here. We're pushing about an hour, so kind of a mega episode, if you will say. We'll come back with our last episode, our last episode, and put the front end together, probably barring the hood repair. But we'll at least be able to get everything back on, hopefully out for a quick test drive. So until that episode, thank you for watching this one. Don't forget, hit like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends. We're over on Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, of course, here on YouTube. We've got merch over on Teespring. Yeah, so again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all real soon. Bye-bye.